Okay, we are back, and hopefully we don't run into that again. Nice little glitch in the Matrix. PlayStation decided to throw error code and kick me out, but it didn't look like we've missed a whole lot. Logan Aron is the only driver to set a time so far. 1:15.890, followed by Fran Sanchez, who just came across the line with 1:18.291. Cameron Weston Edwards, second quickest, 1:17.996. We've got caution flags flying in sectors 1. And we're currently watching Dion Stalls. Let's try and get some lap data up here for everybody. And get our mini map going. And it looks like we have Temp has joined. Temp 103495. I believe that is Juan Vasquez. He joined us last week. And it looks like Dion Stahl has validated his lap time. We'll switch over to Christian Dorman. Dorman going to be starting a hot lap now. Down the front straightaway here at the famed Imola circuit in San Marino, Italy. Through the first chicane. Another quick left-right exchange. Yellow flag in sector 3. Oh, and that's Aston Martin getting out of the way. He came up on that quick. Couldn't see it because of the ridiculous sidebar. Down the hill. Ooh, very tricky section here. Back up the hill. Gonna get a little bit of a toe out of there. Down this straightaway. Hard on the brakes into this chicane here. Another quick right-left exchange. Back on the power, trying to get the power down. And Nicolo has just gone fastest lap. 1:15.561, 0.3 of a second quicker than Logan Aron. Christian Dorman trying to come to the end of his lap back on the front straightaway. Let's see what kind of time he can put up. And 1:17.456. Why didn't that count? Oh, he must have been... Oh, it looks like he validated his lap time there at the end. That's a shame. Pick up Juan Vasquez. He's on his outlap. He is currently in a Red Bull. And I'm being told Jesper Lempen, and we did talk about his qualifying ban. Looks like Robin Herderstegen also has a qualifying ban as well. So no times will be set by those two drivers. And I'm kind of interested to see is what's going to happen here. This is the Haas coming. He's going to dive down in the pits. Juan Vasquez looks like he's going to try and start a hot lap. It looks like he is the only driver on track right this second that's doing any type of hot lap. I see Luke Smith is not in the pits, which is unusual because he generally doesn't do a qualifying time. I'm not going to switch to him just yet because chances are he might just be doing a setup on the car, dive back into the pits, not set a time at all. But Juan Vasquez had a good run last week at Circuit of the Americas, finishing 7th. Not a bad run last week for a temporary driver. Hop on board down the back straightaway. Quick right-left exchange here. Tough chicane to get through. Downhill braking zone. Another tricky corner. Tried to carry as much speed as he could through that last corner. And Vasquez, 1:16.837, 7th quickest. We'll pick up Cameron Weston Edwards. And this will be his first time on track this season, not running full time for the first time in a long time. And up the hill he goes. Blocks McLaren. Whoa, and around goes Edwards. Loses the back end coming out of that chicane. Trying to get this bad boy going. So that is not going to do him any favors. Then we'll pick up Logan Arond. And he comes across the line 1:15.759, and that's still only good enough for second, as Nicolo Falzaresi is provisional pole 1:15.561. We'll pick up Oleski, see what Oleski is at. He's currently a couple seconds off of his best time in the second time. Currently not on a hot lap, it would appear. And Max Mulder, he set a time at a 1:16.541, but it looks like he is crashed out of qualifying. So his time will be locked in at that. Currently good enough for fourth. We'll see if that changes. We'll pick up Senna Haywire. Looks like he's trying to put some heat into those tires. And getting some lead communications here. Jesper Lempinen has set a lap time, which he's not supposed to do. He's owned up to that. So his time is a 1:17.2. He's not going to set any more hot laps. He's going to try and get out of the way at the start of this race. That'll be interesting to see how that works out. We'll hop on board with Senna as he heads down into the left-right exchange, which coincidentally is where Martin Senna had his crash back in 1994. There's the whole reason they put that chicane there. Before then, it was just a 190-mile-an-hour sweeping left-hander. And trying to put some heat into the front tires, it looks like. Down the hill, through the corner, hard on the brakes, back up the hill. And he's invalidated his lap time with that little episode there. We'll pick up Christian Dorman. Currently 13th quickest. He had a good run a couple of laps ago, but invalidated it at the last minute. 6 minutes left to play in the qualifying session. Yellow flags flying here in Sector 3. Dorman trying to come through and put up a competitive lap time. Dorman this time can put a time on the board, 1:18.069, good enough for 12th quickest. And we'll pick up Sandro Dulius, one of the big four that's yet to set a time. He's fourth in points so far this year. He's not set a lap time yet. Looks like he's got a car coming in from behind him. And Max Mulder, his time has still... Oh, and Nicolo Falzaresi improves upon his time. Now a 1:15.528. Provisional pole still going to him. Max Mulder, even though he's DNF'd, he's still currently fourth quickest, so he hasn't dropped down the running order yet at all. We'll hop on board with Sandro Dulius for his first hot lap attempt. And Nick Van Gelder on the live chat saying this update is taking too long, and he's got 5 minutes to get in here. He's starting the back, and he misses qualifying. Yellow flag flies in Sector 2. We're riding along with Sandro Dulius, who's yet to set a time. And Fran Sanchez looks like he's crashed out of qualifying, so his time will be locked in at the 1:18.291. That's good enough for 13th so far. Robin Herderstagen will not be setting a time. He has a qualifying ban. Sandro Dulius is on a timed lap as we speak, and Luke Smith is doing what Luke Smith does. He will be starting in the back and work his way to the front. Luke never sets a qualifying time. And Max Mulder making the joke. The Mercedes Dream Teams now both crashed out, so both Mercedes are out of qualifying. Julia is coming out of the last corner down the front straightaway. He's going to set a time of a 1:16.382. Good enough for fourth. He bumps Max Mulder down a position into fifth. And now everyone is in the pits with the exception of Juan Vasquez. Vasquez is not on a hot lap, it would seem. .330 left to play in the session, and time's starting to run out for Nick Van Gelder to be a part of this race as Vasquez dives into the pits. And now everybody is in the pits. We can pick up Center Haywire. He is on a out lap. So 3 minutes to go. The clock ticks away here. The 18-minute short qualifying session. Nick Van Gelder trying to get his game updated so he can participate in this race. So his race is against time, while everybody else is going to be a race against other drivers. Coincidentally, speaking of time, Nick got to give a speech on time management. Maybe he should perhaps follow his own advice. Just saying, buddy. Just saying. We've got Logan Aron on an out lap, followed by Oleski. They're both going to try and take one more stab at provisional pole. Nicolo Falzaresi coming out on an out lap as well, with Tim Ventic and Vincenzo Torri. So Senna now is good enough for 10th quickest so far. See if he can improve his time. Prying Stingray that is Luke Smith. He's retired from the session. That is pretty much par for the course. Luke never does a qualifying effort. He's a reserve driver. He likes to start in the back, work his way forward, uses the alternate tire strategy, plus his speed and skill, usually works his way towards the front. Did have a DNF last week, unfortunately. To be fair, the only other race that he was in this year was round 1. Bahrain, where he did come home second after starting 16th. So it'll be a mad dash to the finish. And it looks like we've got a caution flag in Sector 2. Looks like that might have been the McLaren of Cameron Weston Edwards going around again. So here comes Senna Haywire. He's going to come across the line. Oh, he runs a little wide out into the grass. Just dropped the right side wheels. He does improve his time. Goes 7th quickest, so good qualifying effort for him. He's got enough time to do another hot lap if he wants to. So Oleski is not on a hot lap. We'll call that a medium lap. Partially quick. Now he's starting a hot lap this time. Now he does have Senna Haywire in front of him down the road a little ways. And Logan Aron goes quickest, 1:15.487, a 10th quicker than Nicolo Falzaresi. We ride along with Oleski, 3rd quickest so far, 1:16.353. Let's take a quick look and see where Falzaresi is, and he comes across the line, 1:15.161, back to the top of the charts. Oh, well, we just picked up Oleski. He was way wide coming out of that corner. And all of this, Vincenzo Torri and Sandro Dulius have both improved their times. Vincenzo now pushes Max Mulder down into the 6th position. Tim Ventic is 7th. Senna Haywire has dropped to 8th. Oleski coming out of the last corner. It's going to be close. Don't think it's going to be close enough. Does improve his time, but he's still stuck third quickest. Good qualifying effort by him. Vincenzo Torri, he's off the pace. Tim Ventic going to come across the line in the Haas. And he improves his time, 1:16.202, jumps him up into fourth. And Vincenzo's going to dive into the pits, and that is going to about do it. So Nicolo Falzarezzi, for the first time this season, Logan Aron does not find himself on pole position here at round 5 at Imola. That is going to go to Nicolo Falzarezzi in the Alfa Romeo. Good on him. So this should be interesting. And it looks like the only car that's technically still out on track would be Logan Aron. He is now finally diving into the pits. And that'll wrap up qualifying here for today. And the top 4 are only separated by 9/10 of a second from pole to 4th place position. And any signs of Nick Van Gelder, Season 4 champ who's been trying to update his game. Looks like he may miss today's race, which would be disappointing. It's not often Nick misses a race. It is often that he runs very close to missing a race, but usually doesn't miss one. So here is your starting grid. Nicolo Falzarezzi, Logan Aron, Oleski, Tim Ventic, Sandro Dulius, Vincenzo Torri, Max Mulder, Senna Haywire, Juan Vasquez, Dion Stahl is going to be your top 10 starting positions. Jesper Lempinen did put down a time. He is going to try and immediately jump out of the way and let the grid go by before starting his race. Christian Dorman will be 12th, Cameron Weston Edwards 3rd, and Fran Sanchez. And it looks like Nick Van Gelder has joined last minute with 12 seconds to spare. Looks like Nick Van Gelder will finally get into this race. Talk about time management. So here we go. Round 5, Season 8, Imola, San Marino. Looks like it's a little cloudy out there today. A little bit of an overcast. Not sure if there'll be any rain in the area or not. Even if it's overcast, it'll bring the track temperatures down, possibly make the grip go up. Clock winds down. We'll do a formation lap, and then we'll get underway for the 50% race. Should be 32 laps for today's Grand Prix. Got a good car count today. And we've got Sam Brandt on the live chat. Good to see him. As always, we get ready to do our formation lap. Nicolo Falzarezzi, pole position. First time this season that Logan O'Rond has not been on pole. Logan will be starting in the second position. 3 races Logan has finished this year out of the 4, and each time he has won. We'll be looking to try and do that again. Oleski, second in points, starting in the 3rd position, coming off of a 2nd place finish last week. See if he can take advantage of that starting spot, and they take advantage of Logan, who is not on pole position for a change. 3rd in points is Tim Ventic, and he's starting in the 4th spot today. And even though he's in a Haas just like Logan O'Rond, there is no love lost between those guys. They don't really consider themselves teammates as it would be, but championship contenders. 4th in points, Sandro Dulis will be starting 5th. Going to try and work his way into the podium positions. And Vincenzo Torri, able to finish in 3rd last week, his first podium of the year. We'll be looking to try and do it again. Max Mulder crashed last week at Circuit of the Americas, had a rough going in qualifying. Again today in qualifying, he starts 7th. We'll see if he can maintain that pace, put some points on the board. And Senna Haywire with a great qualifying effort for him, starting in the 8th spot, since he was happy with his lap time after qualifying, as he should be, starting in the top 10. Juan Vasquez will be starting in 9th. And in the 10th spot will be Dion Stahl. Now, Jesper Lempinen had a qualifying ban. He did set a time. He is not disqualified as of yet. He owned up to his mistake. He is going to try and attempt to get out of the way at the start of this race and let the grid go by before continuing. We'll see how that works out on the narrow front straightaway. Christian Dorman will be starting in 12th. Cameron Weston Edwards struggled in qualifying. He'll be starting in 13th. Fran Sanchez will be 14th. Robin Herderstagen had a qualifying ban, did not set a time. And Luke Smith, doing what Luke Smith does, starting in the back. And unfortunately, I did not see Nick Van Gelder. I don't think Nick made it to the grid. Unfortunate for him. But Nick, feel free to join the chat. You can be the driver analyst for the day. Five red lights. They're out. Time to run what you brung. Jesper Lempinen trying to get out of the way, and they're down the front straightaway. Looks like Logan has jumped Nicolo Falzarezzi going into the first corner, and around goes both Haas, or the Haas and the Alfa Romeo. That's Falzarezzi. Oh, and we've got a Mercedes. Oh, AlphaTauri around too. Is that Oleski? No, that's Jesper. That might have been Jesper trying to get out of the way. So Logan O'Rond and Nicolo Falzarezzi, who started 1st and 2nd, both went around, and I think they both had a little help from possibly Oleski. Max Mulder out in front of this race. He's got Oleski on his tail. Quick change of events there, and just as a side note, Luke Smith started 16th, already up to 10th. So Max Mulder out in front leading this race. It looks like Vaughn Vasquez is losing a couple spots deeper into the field. Oh, we've seen Tim Ventic and Senna Haywire and Dion Stahl and Sandro Dulis cutting the corners there. Lots of action here on the opening lap of this race. And Sandro Dulis getting shuffled around a little bit. He's down into the 6th spot. Max Mulder, he's going to set the fastest lap of the race. It's the first lap of this race. We see a couple of guys diving in. Looks like Tim Ventic has dived into the pits. Oleski has dived into the pits. Tim Ventic, Juan Vasquez, Nicolo Falzarezzi. So that gives Max Mulder a 3-second lead over this battle here. Senna Haywire currently running 2nd. And it looks like we've got a virtual safety car. Yes, VSC. I saw it flashing on the sign. So virtual safety car. Now here's where I don't understand the virtual safety car. Max Mulder, okay, it's dived back down. Should be about 3.5 second gap from Max to Senna. So Vincenzo Torri up into third. Sandro Dulius has made his way up into fourth. Dan Stahl fifth. Christian Dorman up into sixth. Cameron Weston Edwards quietly made his way up into seventh. And Luke Smith running in the eighth spot. Fran Sanchez is ninth. And we're back to green flag racing, and that gap from first to second has shrunk. As we see Cameron Weston Edwards and Christian Dorman going at it. And what has happened to... Oh, DRS is enabled. So we basically got two groups of cars. We've got... First is Max Mulder, then you've got second place all the way down to ninth, as we've got the two McLarens battling each other. Ooh, and a big shuffle there. Looks like Cameron Weston Edwards made a little bit of contact with Robin Herderstagen. Luke Smith moves into ninth. Meanwhile, we'll pick up this battle here. This is Vincenzo Torri moving in on Senna Haywire for the second position. And it looks like Logan Arond is going to dive into the pits. And a good run coming out of that corner for Vincenzo, trying to make a move on Senna down the straightaway. And he's going to take over that second spot. Well, when around goes Senna, and he's going to give up a couple of positions now. From second to seventh for Senna Haywire. Meanwhile, Luke Smith gets around Robin Herderstagen for the 8th position. Max Mulder just ran the fastest lap of the race at a 1:19.533. I think that's only the second green flag lap that we've had. And Luke Smith is moving in on Senna. Luke's going to try and go around the outside heading into the corner here. Senna's not going to want to give up the position, but... Oh, crossover move. Whoa, when they make contact, Senna makes contact with Luke Smith. And Senna's race is falling apart. That was a bit of an ambitious move to try and do that crossover. Got a lot of the curbing. Luke, I think, probably thought he was clear. Looks like Luke Smith doesn't have a whole lot of damage. Slides the back end of the car. Still in the 9th position. It's a little bit off the pace. Meanwhile, Sandro Dulius has picked up a 3-second time penalty trying to get around Vincenzo Torri. And that's not very common. We don't see Sandro with a lot of time penalties, so he's probably going to be a little upset with himself after that. So this race is, right now, it's all over the place. Max Mulder is your leader, followed by Vincenzo Torri in second place, 4.5 seconds behind. Sandro Dulius is trying to close that gap. He's got the DRS down the front straightaway, but he's got a 3-second time penalty to boot, and it's still very early in this race as we're only on lap 5. And Sandro goes deep into that corner and lost a huge chunk of time trying to make that corner and go in as deep as possible. He's being pursued by his teammate Dion Stahl in 4th. And Senna Haywire is going to dive into the pits. He's got no front wing. Christian Dorman is quietly worked his way into the 5th position as we see Nicolo Falzarezzi runs the fastest lap of this race at a 1:18, but Falzarezzi is all the way back in the 12th position outside of the points after everything that has happened so far. And the cars are starting to get split up a little bit right now. Fran Sanchez, who I don't know a whole lot about, rocking the Mercedes. He's currently in 6th, all by his lonesome. He's just outside of DRS range of Christian Dorman. If we go behind him, we've got Robin Herderstagen in the McLaren, currently in 7th. He's followed by his teammate, Cameron Weston Edwards, in 8th. Luke Smith, whose day's been a little bit up and down, started 16th. He's been as high as 8th. He's back down to 9th after his contact with Senna. And Oleski, who had his own issues early on in this race, he is currently in 10th and being pursued by Tim Ventic. We have Nicolo Falzarezzi. He is going to be in the 12th spot. Juan Vasquez rocking the Red Bulls is going to be in 13th. Jesper Lempinen did what he said he was going to do. He did get out of the way at one point. He was all the way down into 16th. He's managed to work his way into 14th through pit sequence with Senna and Logan Aron. So a lot of these guys are running all by their lonesome. Let's try and get some... So the top 9 have not made a stop. Logan has made 2 stops, which has put him all the way in the back. And we can see who's on what. You see a lot of guys, hards and mediums primarily. In yellow flag sector 1 and 2. I don't know who that's in relation to. Looks like that might be... that's Juan Vasquez. Oh, and Juan... Oop, that's not what I wanted. Juan Vasquez had a big off there. Looks like he's lost his front wing completely. And Nick Van Gelder did get on the live chat, said he lost out by just a few seconds trying to get into this race. Nick, the invitation remains. You can live chat. You can join the party chat and be the driver analyst for the day as we work lap 7 of 32. Lots going on today. And while all of this is happening, Max Mulder has been able to pull out to the tune of 4.5 seconds over Vincenzo Torri. And now we've got a yellow flag sector 3, and that looks like that might be... Is that Senna? That's Senna coming up on Jesper Lempinen is who that was. And the AlphaTauri looks like he had a little bit of an off there at the end of the lap. So Jesper's day has gone from bad to worse. And unfortunately, with everything that's going on, in this race, there doesn't seem to be a close battle on track. Max Mulder out front, which is good for him. He had a really bad round last week at Circuit of the Americas. Couldn't get the setup right on the car. Struggled in qualifying. Crashed out in the race. He struggled in qualifying here today. He crashed out. He was 4th quickest. He did put up a competitive time. He was 4th quickest when he crashed. And it looks like we've got another car off Sector 1. And that is the other Mercedes. That is Fran Sanchez, who's going around. Whoa! And he's losing a lot of spots as a lot of cars try to dodge him, and he is now fallen outside of the points all the way down into 12th as he continues to struggle and goes around again. Got to get them tires cleaned off, and you got to get them cooled down, which seems to be a very hard task in this game. And around he goes again as we continue to watch this catastrophe unfold. So now we do have a little bit of a battle going on here. We've got... Oh, come on. Luke Smith just got around Robin Herderstegen for the 6th position. Meanwhile, while that's going on, we've got Nicolo Falzaresi moving in on Tim Ventic for the last points-paying position. And Tim Ventic is moving in on Oleski. That's 3 very fast drivers deep in the field. Oleski currently 2nd in points. Tim Ventic currently 3rd in points in the championship. Falzaresi a little bit deeper in the field when it comes to the point standings, but a very fast driver. And this 3-car battle is slowly creeping up on Cameron Weston Edwards. There's Cameron. Here comes Oleski, followed by Tim Ventic, followed by Nicolo. So this could very much turn into a 4-car battle for the 8th position here in the next lap or two. right on board with Tim Ventic as they come down into this final couple of corners here. Rear slot open, but we're going to get ourselves a little bit of a DRS train. And Juan Vasquez saying this is his first week trying to do medium traction control setting. It's not going too well. And I can feel you on that one. I need all the traction I can get when it comes to playing this game. We've got ourselves a three-car battle here as we're on board with Tim Ventic, Cameron Weston Edwards. Oh, we've got 2x2 they come. And look at this gaggle of cars. Now, Nicolo falls back a little bit. Looks like he's anticipating something going to happen between these three as we see Oleski makes a little bit of contact there with Cameron Weston Edwards, and that opens up the door for Tim Ventic. And Edwards is going to show everybody just how hard it is to get by him. You're going to need the DRS to get by Cameron Weston Edwards. You're going to need a long straightaway because on the windy bits, you're not getting by him. We've said it for years and years. Cameron Weston Edwards is very much the Ryan Newman of SRL. He does not like to let anybody by without a fight. And now that we've got the DRS and a long straightaway, Ventic might have a chance. It's the only way you're going to get by him, and Edwards is going to try and stick with him. But Ventic up into 8th, and now the battle will continue. And now it's a three-car battle for the 9th position. Edwards able to scoot away a little bit, and this is the area in which Oleski had a little bit of trouble last time. And down the hill, we hop on board. Oleski trying to get a run coming up the hill. Nicolo Falzaresi still there. Edwards. Placing that car where it needs to be. Oh, Falzaresi has a bit of a wiggle coming out of that corner. Here comes Oleski, and he's going to try and get to the inside. And he's going to be able to make the pass. Good on him. Whoa, whoa, whoa! And he loses the back end. Edwards is going to be able to get back around him. So Oleski trying hard to get that power down coming out of that corner and lost the back end. Meanwhile, we've got Tim Ventic working the back of the other McLaren now. He's caught up to Robin Herderstagen for the 7th position. Oh, and a big wiggle there by Tim as he comes out of the corner. Another wiggle as he tries to shift gears. Good run up the hill. Can Tim make the move as he swerves back and forth? Senna Haywire picks up a 3-second time penalty. We've got a yellow flag, sector 1. That's probably for Senna. We're not going to leave this battle as Tim gets the power down coming out of the corner, makes the move, and puts himself in the 7th position. Meanwhile, Oleski still trying to find a way around Cameron Weston Edwards, and it looks like he's going to save the move this time for the front straightaway with the DRS. There's going to be nothing Cameron can do about it. Here comes Oleski. And there he goes. Edwards down into 10th. And Senna Haywire, his struggles continue as he falls back. Picks up the time penalty, falls all the way back to 16th. Meanwhile, looks like we've got a battle going on between Dion Stahl and Luke Smith. Looks like Luke has gotten around him for the 5th position. And Nicolo Falzaresi, who is currently running in the 12th position, picks up a 3-second time penalty. Nicolo trying to find a way around Fran Sanchez for the 11th spot. Yellow flag in Sector 2, and that's a red. Is that Nicolo? It is. It looks like he's gone off into the grass. He was fighting with Fran Sanchez for 11th, and he's dropped down to 13th now, plus the 3-second time penalty. Insult to injury. Dion Stahl dives into the pits. It's going to move Cameron Weston Edwards up into 9th. Meanwhile, the battle here between Robin Herderstagen and Oleski. Oleski gets by him for the 7th position. And now looks like Sanchez has dived into the pits. That moves Jesper Leffinen up into the 11th spot. What a crazy race. So we'll pick up your leader, Max Mulder, in the Mercedes-AMG Petronas. He's out in front to the tune of 7 seconds over Vincenzo Torri, who's running in 2nd place. Sandro Doilius has made his way up into 3rd. Christian Dorman quietly has made his way up into 4th. Looks like he's got some lap traffic in front of him. That should be Juan Vasquez, it looks like. And yellow flag Sector 2, and that looks like that would be Jesper Lempinen as well. And he has gone off. He is slowly coming back on track to get out of the way and gets going again. He is very slow, though, to get going. Oh, he's lost his front wing completely. So it looks like he's had a hard shunt into the wall, broke the front wing off. And so he'll be making another pit stop. And should be coming up onto some pit stops for some of these other drivers. We're now halfway through this race, and Max, Vincenzo, and Sandro, the top 5 have yet to pit. Followed by Robin Herderstagen and Cameron Weston Edwards. They've all yet to make their pit stops. As Jesper comes in, they're going to swap out the front wing and put on a new set of mediums, and it looks like that is Sandro leaving the pits now, so Sandro just comes in. Yellow flag Sector 1, that's another car that is stopped. Looks like that might have been Neo Frank. That's Fran Sanchez. Looks like he might have had another on-off at the chicane. And it looks like Luke Smith has picked up a 3-second time penalty somewhere. Currently running in the 4th position. So things getting shuffled around again as the pit sequence starts to open up. So while all this is going on, Max Mulder has continued to extend his lead. He's now out in front. 7.6 seconds, looking for his maiden F1 win, I believe. Now, Max has become very competitive in the SRL Project Cars 2 GT3 series over the last couple of seasons, and it's translated over to some of the races that and as we see, Christian Dorman dives into the pits along with Vincenzo Torri. Max Mulder now has a 25-second lead over Luke Smith, and Luke Smith has a 3-second time penalty. So now would be the time for Max to pit. He could essentially pit and would come out still first, and he could run the race all the way to the end if he needed to. Coming down to the last part of the track here. Let's see if he dives into the pits or not. And he does not. He's going to go another lap. This might not be the best strategy. As I said, he's got enough time right now between him and essentially Tim Ventick. And even Luke Smith to still come out in first. Tim Ventick, though, is closing the gap between him and Luke Smith, which means he's also closing the gap between him and Max Mulder. So Tim, don't know if he'd be able to run those hards all the way to the end of the race, but right now, currently closing the gap. So you see Robin Herterstegen is going to be dropping into the pits as well. And we got a little bit of a battle here. This is Juan Vasquez on Fran Sanchez for the 13th position. And Max Mulder is finally diving into the pit as we see these two guys go side by side down the hill, and they make contact, and into the wall goes Vasquez. I don't think Sanchez expected him to make that move. Punts him into the wall as he's trying to get going again. Letting some of the other cars go by, and there he goes, and he's going to spin it around again. Backs it up, and he's now in the gravel trap, letting other cars go by, trying to get going, and luckily he doesn't have too far to go to get into the pits. Around him goes one of the Williams. Looks like that would have been Luke Smith, and he's going to dive into the pits. So Max Mulder was able to pit and come back out, still first over top of Tim Ventick. Meanwhile, it looks like Nicolo Falzaresi just got by Robin Herterstegen for 10th, but he still has a 3-second time penalty to contend with. Got a little bit of a battle here with Dion Stahl and Oleski for the 9th position. Actually, this is Dion Stahl in 9th, battling with Oleski for 8th, but a big wiggle coming out of that corner, and that's going to let Oleski scoot away. And a 3-second time penalty for Luke Smith. That is, I think that's the second one he's gotten, so that's going to change his finishing position for sure. So the one driver that we haven't talked about a whole lot since the fiasco that was the beginning of this race, Logan Arand, your championship points leader. He's just come out of the pits, throws on a fresh set of softs, and he's going to try and run some qualifying laps here with 12 laps to go in this race to try and see if he can get into the points and salvage some sort of points for the day. Currently 30 seconds behind Robin Herterstegen for 11th, and he is then 7 seconds behind Nicolo Falzaresi for 10th. So can Logan put points on the board, save this day a little bit? He's in damage control right now. And can he get the fastest lap to get that bonus point? As we see Luke Smith has made the move on Cameron Weston Edwards for the 5th position. But again, Luke's got multiple time penalties now. And Vincenzo Torri has closed the gap down to Tim Ventick for the 2nd position. So So Vincenzo had that great run last week to third, picked up his first podium of the season. Looks like he's trying to do that again and wants to up that by 1 spot over Tim Ventic. Runs a little bit of a different arc through that corner, try and straighten that car out as soon as possible to get the power back down, close that gap to Tim, riding in the slipstream. Down the hill, hard on the brakes, up the hill. Good run out of there. He closes the gap just a little bit to a couple car lengths. But Tim is a former series champion. He knows what it's like to drive under pressure. He wants to hang on. He's contending for the championship again this year. Back on the front straightaway. Ventic able to get the power down, scoot away a little bit. And I think Tim is just outside of having that DRS advantage over the car in front. The car in front of him is a lap car. Yellow flag, sector 3. That's going to be one of the McLarens down at the bottom of the hill. Looks like that was Cameron Weston Edwards. Looks like he's had a bit of an off. He gets going in, and then you see the different angle that he's running. Vincenzo trying to square that car up to get it off. And Nicolo Falzaresi is going to get by Cameron Weston Edwards as Edwards dives into the pits and runs wide. That's the Mercedes of Fran Sanchez, letting these two go by. And while all that was happening, it looks like Juan Vasquez retired his car after his incident with Fran Sanchez. So Vasquez will be credited with a DNF in 16th position as we ride along with Vincenzo, trying to see if he can find his way around Tim Ventic, who's been making it very difficult for him. And Tim gets a really good run coming out of that final corner, gets the power down a little sooner than Vincenzo can, and it looks like the Haas might be trimmed out just a little bit more than the Alfa Romeo. So Tim able to stay out in front just enough. And while these two have been pushing themselves a little bit, Sandro Dulius is quietly closed in on this battle. He is 2.3 seconds behind them. And again, look at this around the outside. Vincenzo trying to make it work. Tim's going to put the power down. Vincenzo's almost to the inside of him. Can't quite get there. Vincenzo's been working that corner and almost worked for him that time. Loses a little bit of time coming up the hill. Tim Ventic, as I said, former series champion. And we've got another yellow flag, sector 3. It looks like that is another McLaren. Again, same area. These guys are actually getting ready to come through it now. So when they get by, looks like that would have been Cameron Weston Edwards as he dives back into the pit. Here comes Vincenzo. Side by side, he's finally going to get to the inside of Tim. Tim's going to try and stick with him. Crossover move. Tim gets the power down. And he's all over the gearbox of Vincenzo. Now can Tim make a move going into the hairpin up here? Vincenzo able to pull away. And now Tim's going to run that alternate line through there, try and square it up. And now Tim will be the one pursuing Vincenzo for second spot. Now Tim will have the DRS advantage coming back around to the to the start finish. Down the hills, we ride along with Tim in the Haas. Smooth power transition as he gets back on the gas. A bit of a wiggle there from Vincenzo, was able to save it. And Tim losing touch with Vincenzo just a little bit there for a second. Tim's going to have the DRS advantage. We'll see how much of a gap he can close. Well, if Tim can stick with Vincenzo through sectors 2 and 3, seems to be where the Haas struggles a little bit because it seems to be a little bit more trimmed out, but if he can stick with them, he could probably get that position back down the front straightaway as the laps wind down, working lap 25 of 32. Seven laps to go in this race. Nicolo Falzaresi just got around Dion Stahl for the 7th position. Meanwhile, Logan Aron has worked his way into 11th. He's currently 18 seconds behind Robin Herderstegen for the 10th and last points-paying position. He tries to salvage some portion of this race to put points on the board. And look at this, Tim Ventic is starting to lose touch with Vincenzo as they head down on this final couple of corners. Oh, and Tim cuts that corner big time, trying to close that gap. And Tim's going to be just outside of DRS, but here comes... Oh, and Sandro dives into the pit. Sandro was closing the gap. And it looks like Sandro's going to switch over to... Sandro's going to switch over to the soft tires. There goes Luke Smith for 5th. And I can't tell, but I thought I'm starting to see some droplets of rain. Sandro was closing the gap to Tim Ventic. Drives into the pits for soft tires. Rain's starting to fall. I wonder if Sandro was trying to put intermediates on. I don't think the track's wet enough for something like that just yet, but interesting strategy there. So that's going to move Luke Smith up into 4th. And with it being the end of this race, 6 laps to go, the rain's starting to just trickle down. And did the rain be a factor in this race? Right along with Sandro and the soft tires. Very interesting strategy here. And it doesn't, I mean, you can see the skies look a little patchy. I don't know how long the rain will last. It might not be a factor at all. Sandro was half a second behind Tim Ventic for 3rd and decided to pit and throw himself to get a caution flag sector 3. And that is, oh no, and virtual safety car? That was for Senna Haywire. He crashes at the end of the lap, and this is probably not going to help the situation for Sandro. I don't know what his strategy was there to try and throw on the soft tires. And you can see the droplets are falling. And it looks like Logan, we're going to pick up Logan now. He's jumped into the pits. What is he throwing on? Well, that's a nice little glitch there. See what tires he's got. And Logan does have intermediate tires on. And it looks like Senna tried to put intermediate tires on and crashed. And it looks like we've got some other drivers pitting. So this makes me wonder if Sandro tried to put on intermediate tires, perhaps had a glitch trying to make that happen, but he hasn't gone back into the pits. And he continues to stay out, and he's going to pick up a couple of positions. Wow, and look at this. Everybody, the top top 5 has switched over to soft tires. Logan Aron switches over to intermediates. This is interesting. Some guys think that the weather's not going to be bad enough, and it's a full safety car, which means because it's a full safety car, it's going to be longer that these cars are going to be out on track. The track conditions could become worse as the rain continues to fall. Who made the right call? The guys on the softs or the one guy on the intermediates, Logan Aron, trying to salvage some of this day? And this is essentially going to work out to be possibly just a 1 to 2 lap shootout once these cars all get caught up with the safety car. I would like to think the quicker that these guys get caught up, the more racing we can have. Senna Haywire causing that late safety car. So this is going to be super interesting at the end of this race. Max Mulder, who's run a perfect race from the get-go. He's been out front all day, now finds himself, and what is the McLaren doing? I guess he's trying to, I guess he's been given the go-ahead to go around. Lap 29 of 32. They continue to count down. As I said, we're going to have maybe a 1 to 2 lap shootout. And Mulder is going to be extremely upset about this. He was out front leading the way, driving all by his lonesome, and now all of a sudden he's got a whole pack of angry cars behind him and some very fast drivers. Vincenzo Torri coming off of his first podium position last week. Tim Ventic, former series champion, in third. Sandro Dulius looking for another podium position. Luke Smith, who's got multiple SRL wins. And then you've got Christian Dorman, who's been a solid mid-pack driver all season. But behind him you have Oleski, who's one of the championship contenders. Meanwhile, this is semi-good news for Logan Aron, who's been trying to salvage his day since being spun out on lap 1 from a series of cars that going into the first corner. So, but he is the only driver realistically on intermediate tires. And now we've got a few more drivers on intermediates. Dion Stahl, Nicolo Falzarezzi, Robin Herderstag, and Logan Aron. Cameron Weston-Edwards has stayed out on the mediums. Jesper Lempinen and Fran Sanchez have all switched over to intermediates, but the top 5 all on softs. Christian Dorman on hards. I think he's just trying to finish this race out, and he may have made the right call by not doing anything, because by the time this gets going again, I don't think we've gotten yeah, we're not going to get that. We're going to go with about 2 laps to go. Laps 31 and 32, because we're still waiting for, looks like, McLaren and, yeah, so that would be Cameron Weston-Edwards and Jesper Lempinen. We're waiting for them to get caught up to the safety car. So one more time around. Hopefully the safety car will come in this lap, but it's going to be very tight, folks. I think this is one of those times where, you know, it's a double-edged sword. You like to see the race finish under green flag, but you don't like to see... You like to see a race to the finish, but you don't necessarily like to see things like a green-white checker, per se, like NASCAR does. Would like to see it happen more natural than that. What would be kind of cool is if at some point in the near future, and maybe not just Formula One, but even like IndyCar or even NASCAR, if they would just not count the caution laps towards the actual race distance, but I'm sure that would cause some controversy as well. But you really hate to see something like this as this race basically winds down. And this is also kind of a glitch within the game itself, where technically you could release the safety car and you would still have a safe restart. there's no reason for the two back markers to catch up to the train. I mean, one could argue it would be a disadvantage for those two drivers because they won't be able to battle for position, but it looks like the track has gone back to dark, so it looks like maybe the safety car has pulled away. We're going to go back to green flag racing. Max Mulder will be the control car. This is going to get crazy here. 2-lap shootout here at Imola. Who can hang on for the win? Yellow flag, sector 3, but we're back to green flag racing. The rain is coming down, and they fan out behind them. Good start by Max Mulder, but it's 4 wide as they go down into the final, or down into the first corner. Look at this. Luke Smith, hard on the brakes, dives in. Sandro Dulius gets shoved aside, and he's going to fall back. Max Mulder continues to pull away, and around goes Christian Dorman, and there's a stack up behind us. Cars everywhere, bits and pieces flying. Track stays green. Max Mulder continues to pull away. Oh no, Sandro, it's Dion Stahl. He's lost his front wing completely. And that is his, has Sandro in front of him, Oleski, Tim Ventic, Vincenzo. Luke Smith made a bold move trying to make that work. And this is all kind of falling into the hands of Logan Arand. He's managed to make those intermediates work. He's gained a position over Cameron Weston Edwards. He's in 10th. He's going to have some points that he can garner. Looks like Dion Stahl probably going to have to pit. And the track is definitely wet, as you can see. We watch Sandro Dulius, and there's a battle. That's Logan Arand. Where is the stupid... There we go. Side by side, Logan is going to pick up 9th position, so he'll get a couple more points. Surprisingly, Dion Stahl has stayed out on track to finish this final lap. He's got no front wing. Logan Arand should easily be able to make that pass. Meanwhile, Oleski trying to close in on Vincenzo. And with Vincenzo, not with Vincenzo, but with Nicolo and Sandro, they've got timing penalties that'll be accrued at the end of this race. Logan Arand moves up into 8th. He gets around Dion Stahl for the 8th spot. Their side-by-side battle here. This is Oleski and Nicolo Falzarezzi. Yellow flag, sector 2. Don't know who that's in relation to as we stick with this battle here. And it looks like that's one of the Williams. It's probably Christian Dorman in the back. Oh, and there's contact there. Falzarezzi and Oleski making contact for the 4th position. Or 5th position, I should say. Falzarezzi all over the gearbox. They come through the last couple of corners here. Max Mulder comes across the line. Going to win this race as we watch this drag race down the front straightaway. Woo! And timing penalties being added on at the end of this race. What a wild finish. Look at this. Logan Arand, last-ditch effort. The intermediates worked. He was the first one to throw him on. Manages to get 6th out of all of this. Salvaging as many points as he could in what was a very, very rough race for the championship points leader. And Dion Stahl finishing the race with no front wing, manages to come home 8th. That's something you don't see every day. Brutally damaged car, manages to get points. Driver of the day, Luke Smith, according to the game. My driver of the day will definitely be going to Max Mulder. Congratulations to him for picking up that F1 win. And that is the second time this season Luke Smith has started 16th and finished 2nd. And Max Mulder celebrating on the podium. So what a crazy finish. We'll take a look here at the unofficial results here in just a second as the top three celebrate. That's Tim Ventic in the Haas. So unofficial results. Max Mulder is your winner, followed by Tim Ventic, Vincenzo Torri. Luke Smith goes from second to fourth with the timing penalties. Oleski is fifth. Logan Aranda is sixth. Nicolo Falzarezzi is seventh. Dion Stahl eighth. Robin Herderstegen is ninth. And Sandro Dulius drops all the way back to the 10th position on that last restart. Jesper Lempinen, Cameron Weston Edwards, Christian Dorman, Fran Sanchez rounding out your finishing cars. And then Senna Haywire and Juan Vasquez, both with 15th and 16th, will be credited with DNFs for today. What a crazy race. This has been round 5 at Imola for SRL Season 8 here on the PlayStation platform. And while there are many SRL leagues, there's only one Sandro Racing League. I'm KAMIKAZE-FOX. This has been SRL, and we will see you guys at the next round.